All right, here we go. So I want to demo this jobby I've been working on. So basically, Hey.com is this new email service I think is amazing. And a couple of the features that I think are really killer are the screening in, the basically the screening, the feed, and the paper trail are just killer. And then I realized there are some limitations. Like you can't screen in based off of any search strings other than like if there's an email address who sends you emails you want to see and also some marketing emails, you can't do anything additional other than just screen them to your inbox and then manually deal with it. So I was like, oh man, I it's making me realize that I wanted to like apply some of the functionality from Hey to Gmail. And so basically I built out this little layer on top of Gmail, and so that's what I want to demo here. Okay, so here is the website. I put it under heygmail.kalenjordan.com. It's like Hey but for Gmail. Okay, so how does this work? I'm glad you asked. You're going to have to install, so it's a Laravel deal. And so basically the components to it are the following. So you download, so it's open source. So you go ahead and pop over to GitHub. Now most likely you're going to have all sorts of problems setting this up because, I don't know. That's how it usually goes. But so there's a few components to this. There's a command that runs that you want to set up as a cron, and that's basically in here, email sync. And all this does, it's really simple. And maybe I should demo this before I get into how this works. Let me demo it first because that's sort of the whole point, right? So here's my inbox. I cleaned up. I got rid of all the madness, all the labels, all the craziness, and all the filters. I had a bajillion filters. The main problem with Gmail filters is that there's enough friction in setting up a filter that you just don't do it as much as you want to. And that's the genius of the screening functionality, which is such a game changer. And so I had, I don't know, maybe 100, 150 going back years of random filters in here. And so I deleted all those. And I set this one up. So all it does is it puts it into a two-process filter label. And that is going to be down here. And just to give an example, so let's go into the feed. And I was trying to decide whether to show these in the list here or not. I sort of decided not to show them, but whatever. So let's take this one and let's imagine that this was not already processed. And so let's move it into the to process. Okay. So it's in the to process and it's marked as unread. I'm also getting rid of pretty much entirely the read unread status. I think that's another thing that's brilliant about Hey is there's no read and unread. Just it's basically gone. But there's only one place we're going to use that, which is in the screening functionality. So here is so here it comes into the product. We haven't seen it yet. This is all behind the scenes. So Gmail filtered it into there. And then now what we're going to do is we're going to run the sync. And this is going to go in. Oh, you know what probably happened is that my Minutely cron probably picked it up already. And it moved it out of the to process. And because that was screened to go into the feed, it put it into the feed. Now let me pretend that didn't happen. So let me delete this. This Airtable is where the screenings are recorded. So this is basically the backend database. So let's do that again. So let's move this into process. And This is, and let's mark as unread. Okay. All right. Now we're going to run it again, and I'm going to get it in my local this time so you can see the output. And so it decided, hey, we got to screen that. Okay. Now, here's where I see it. Now, this is the only place we're using the unread status, because that way it pops and says, hey, there's stuff to screen, which is basically the same way Hey works. It gives you a little notification bubble when there's stuff that you need to screen. So you go in, you go, okay, cool. And then there's no user interface for this. It's just a keyboard shortcut, but it's on the Mac, it's the Option key, and there's a couple options. There's I, which will screen it into the inbox. There's O, which will screen it out. There's P, which is paper trail, and there's F, which is the feed. I'm going to put this one into the feed, so I'm hitting Option F, and I got to tighten up these colors. It's a little brutal. The green is a little prettier. That's the green, so I'm gonna fix that yellow color. But so yeah, so feed. Okay, so we just screened it to the feed. So what it did is it just went over here and it associated that in the screenings database, and then it also actually behind the scenes moved this into that label. So if we go back here and refresh, that's going to be gone, and it's going to show up in the feed. So that's the basic functionality. That's pretty much it. It's simple, but I think it's genius. I think it's a total game changer. And so so that's pretty much it. So there's a Chrome extension which is doing that stuff, and I haven't quite fully packaged this Chrome extension all up. I got to do that. Actually, that's in the wrong project right now. But anyway, there's a pretty simple thing here, which just makes a little Ajax call, calls it a day. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. So then you've got your feed, you've got your paper trail. I'm going back and forth about whether to put these in this top level list or not. I guess it makes sense to do that. And then inbox is where your important stuff comes in. When it comes into the inbox, it comes in as unread, which I like. I don't like all the bold stuff getting all in your face and stuff. I don't like the unread red status. So once you've screened, everything's red. So if you want to deal with it, you can star it. Star is essentially the same as Hey's pinning feature, which works for me. I mean, I like pinning better, but this is obviously just an easy way to get there. Get that functionality. But this is pretty much it. Pretty simple. And yeah, I don't know, that's it. But yeah, you got to set up a cron obviously to run that, and then you got to set up that Chrome extension. That's pretty much it. And so yeah, I don't know, if I'll use this. I mean, I still want to pay for Hey just to get the email. Well, I like having the email address, but also just to support them. So I think what they've done is totally awesome. It's I'm a huge fan, and so this is just a little bit of fun hacking on it, and they just did such a good job with everything. Like the user interface is so beautiful. Anyways.